Okay, welcome everyone. Still getting used to the new equipment, but I'm really liking it. So hey, bit of Venom, how are you? If you can hear it in my voice, I'm still a little hoarse from yesterday, and it was rough yesterday. That spike, that Schumann spike, it was pretty rough. And the funny part was, I I was dealing with it and I didn't know I was dealing with it, and after it happened, I started popping a lot of zinc because my body was hurting, and I have airborne and I have them in those gummies, and I started popping a lot of those gummies because I was worried that I was getting sick again because I thought I had a cold last week as well. And I don't know, I didn't check the Schumann bot as much as I did. Hey, what's up, Buster? Glad you're in here. Yeah, yesterday was rough, man. Today's much better, but there was a minor spike today. And I've got the chart up. And some folks were asking questions about the Schumann resonance, so I decided to go out and just do some extra research on it. And, naturally, I've got the research on it that you can get. The Schumann resonance, it's basically ELF waves. They're extremely low frequency waves, and they're in the Earth's electromagnetic field spectrum. They're global, and they're outside they're in the ionosphere, so they're outside of like our immediate field of what we can feel and everything. But the way that it bounces off and the way that it vibrates, it certainly does affect us. And I found some interesting sources while I was trying to find out what happens, with the human body. So I ended up over at the National Institutes of Health, and I found out that they had already, back in 2016, started to do research on whether or not the Schumann resonance itself affects our blood pressure. And as I started digging deeper, I found in Cornell University. And it says here, and I'm still a little off, and if you hear me yesterday, as the spike was happening, I was a bit off, and my hearing was a bit off as well. And it says, can resonant oscillations of the Earth's ionosphere influence the human brain biorhythm? And one thing someone brought up inside of the link, and all the links I put inside of there, they brought up with the Cornell University link I put in there. They talked about the elasticity of the magnetoplasma medium inside of the ionosphere, and they were asking if our ionosphere is basically, or the outer bands of our atmosphere is indeed plasma, and I do believe it is. I mean, if there's someone out there that can answer that better than I can, I'm merely an IT guy, but certainly what I'm reading here and the links that I'm giving you here from Cornell and those are just the linear notes from Cornell, but from the National Institutes of Health. And what it boils down to, they do a lot of research here, and they do a lot of graphs, and they've got a lot of statistics here. But what it boils down to is there's enough here that they warrant further study. And this is all they have on it in terms of, and I think it was a geriatric population, but they were looking for like Schumann resonance effects of the blood pressure, heart rate, depression, and disease-related illnesses, as well as health-related lifestyle. They were looking for all kinds of different things, and they did find a difference. Now, the way that they put it, I'm trying to find with the way they're putting it here, I'm trying to find it sounds almost as if when it's at an elevated state, it seems as if your blood pressure goes down, and all of the readings that you would use in a normal like panel for a human to determine whether or not they're healthy or not, they look to be more positive. So I don't know. I don't know. Now, when I go back, and there was also a question of, is 70 really high? Because that was the spike yesterday. So, is 70 is 70 high for the Schumann resonance. And from everything that I've read in the literature I'm reading here, it's saying it's between 5 and 50. And that goes back to, and I'll actually read exactly what it says here. It says here, the frequency range between 5 and 50 hertz. So that's exactly what they're talking about. And that's for the lower boundaries of the ionosphere. And that's at 45 to 50 kilometers. And that's where the frequency range is most prevalent. So, and then they get into a bit of a history. So it's a really, you can ignore the math, you can ignore the statistics if it's something you're not into, but you can get around all that and still read the good stuff in there. And it gives you really great information about the Schumann resonance. Now, one thing I will give people, that the speculative side, obviously 70 is, I don't care what that says, 70, that what we saw yesterday with the chart that we have here displayed on the screen, that was a beast. That was a beast yesterday. I don't care what anybody says. That was a monster. And I felt it. And I'm still feeling, I can hear it in my voice, I can hear it in my throat, my back hurt, I had a ringing headache, just a terrible headache. And it was crazy. So 70 is near 1,000% above normal, according to Data Junkie. Interesting. Yeah, I thought the normal range was like 1 to 5 or something. So the spike, now let's get into the area of the Mandela effect with this and why it can equate to shifts. Well, the reason why we can equate it to shifts is we've talked about it a million times before. Now we went over the hard, sort of the hard science of it, where I've got links here. National Institutes of Health, Cornell, they are doing research. They do understand that there is some kind of link between, at a minimum, blood pressure. And if you start talking about mental related illnesses, you are talking about the state of mind, the consciousness of a person. Okay, 7.83 is the normal, according to Data Junkie. Got it. Cool. So, that's what I thought, too. I thought it was around 5-ish, but okay, it's 7. That's cool. 7.83 was considered normal for decades. Got it. So, the links are in there for this this monster event we had. It was just a monster, and I was just convinced I was sick. I was getting sick again. And then I just happened to, I said, let me just go take a look at Twitter and see what the bot's saying. And sure enough, the thing was a monster. So, that was that. Now, the thing about the Schumann resonance and the spike that we experienced yesterday, despite all the hard science and everything that I've just given you from Cornell and from the National Institutes of Health, and there's all kinds of other science out there linking the Schumann resonance, and at least the studies that are underway with the way human beings, their bodies, interact, particularly and for some reason the blood pressure, which I find particularly interesting. And the blood pressure obviously is sensitive to stress-related stimuli. So the fact that they went from blood pressure and they jump over to mental-related illnesses, that does go hand in hand. But that also says that there could be some sort of pull on your brain and therefore a pull on the consciousness. And then obviously this spills nicely into the pop psychology of, consciousness coming first from psychology today. But we'll get into that in a second. What I really wanted to talk about was the idea of the Schumann, and people keep showing up, so I just want everybody knowing when as you're showing up here, we do have some hard science in here. I threw in the National Institutes of Health, linking the Schumann resonance to blood pressure, mental illness, and or at least mental health, and then the linkage to Cornell University as people show up. But the linkage between that and the spikes that we see and the way we feel, and then the Mandela effect itself seems to, I know we always find ourselves worried about conflation until we can sort of get a more scientific understanding and get kind of a control mechanism for understanding exactly what happens when a Mandela effect shift happens. And I made to Chris Sinatra, the CEO of NECS, I made the suggestion that we do the blockchain, because the blockchain will be able to do cascading results. And then if you have a relational database, that will give us if we have a massive shift, that would leave residue, because that's what they do, and that's why systems start to crash when you have massive Mandela shifts. If you were to be able to take the studies that are in place right now at Cornell University and the National Institutes of Health, what they're doing with the human body and Schumann resonances, and then if you were to cross over that with hopefully somebody in computer science or information technology or any of the information sciences to build a blockchain, specifically looking for areas that are very sensitive, data that's very sensitive to the Mandela effect, whether that could be like an IMDb type of clone, or whether it's obviously maybe food processing, or maybe just some kind of random pop culture kind of clones you could put in the blockchain. So the way the blockchain would happen is you'd have the update and it would cascade around to all the other nodes, make it like 100 nodes to ensure that there's no doubt that all the nodes were cascaded through and we have it there. And then you've got your relational database, and then you artificially create a series of other tables that would have the same kind of data, and see if one of those tables doesn't change, and that would be your control system, and that would be your residue. And then if you were to see that at the time of, or record that at the time of, or around the time of the Schumann spikes here, then you finally could say that the correlation does equal causation, because I understand correlation doesn't amount to causation always. I understand that. I'm very well, but somebody was asking me about the Schumann bot here that I'm showing you, and I wanted to dig around to show, one, what's the normal range and what's the frequency, but also, two, that indeed it is related, or there are studies underway enough that they know that it's somehow related to the human body. And I thought it was worthwhile. And I was going to talk about something else, but you don't see a spike like this every day. And hopefully everybody can see that on the screen. You just don't see a spike. I mean, this is the biggest spike I've ever seen, at least from the Schumann bot. Somebody said decentralized reality. That's awesome. Yeah, everybody, Melanie, everyone felt it yesterday. And disparate people, and some people I don't even talk to very often, were hitting me up on Twitter saying, what happened yesterday? I was like, well, I know what happened. We had this massive, just beast-like spike. So, I'm not going to say, Jeffrey, people are saying something huge is coming. I don't know. Someone else mentioned that to me. I'm not going to put that out there. I'm not going to, I think something already happened. It already happened. Now what would be interesting is if, now that we're starting to get our bearings on this and the patterns around this, if we can see more fallout, will we see a new wave in the days and weeks to come, a new wave of Mandela effects that people pick up on? Now that would be very, very interesting, because again, that's anecdotal evidence. But would it, for the people who have the funding, the people who have the productivity power and have the time, could they build an idea like I'm talking about, where you have two disparate data systems, and one that is already proven to be prone to catch residue, and then another one, in theory, I think it would be impossible to catch residue. You place those systems side by side and you wait for that next spike. Or you just wait for the next wave of Mandela effects to come in. And you record it every 24 hours. You check it. You constantly poll both systems to see if anything has changed. And you put it into one of those models where anything that changes at all is recorded. And it's recorded in like a slowly changing dimension. So, all right. Let's see here. What are you guys talking about here? So, so with that, naturally, I wanted to, and I'm going to try some new stuff here with this, and you guys let me know if you can see it. I'm going to take down the Schumann stuff now. I'm going to try to put up the other, there we go. What if consciousness comes first from Psychology Today, which plays very nicely into our conversation. Oh, it worked. Awesome. That's great. Let's see. Melanie says, I saw a shift on Monday. Physical changes, watching a storm. Yes, ears closed, headache, yeah. Yeah, name spelling changes, yeah. So, we sound like children arguing about why the walls are green. I don't know what that, I don't know what that means. Fox News are saying we're having a black moon. I've heard of a blue moon. I've heard of a red moon. Let's see what you're talking about here, because I've never heard of that before. Black moon, July 31st. Came up in Google. A black moon is coming on July 31st. Here's what that means. Oh, okay. What does that mean? According to, and I know I'm going to CNN, but whatever. What are you going to do, right? Wait, what is a black moon? A black moon is basically the second moon of the month, something that rarely occurs. We keep hearing that, don't we? Something rare keeps happening all the time. So you guys notice that? We have something rare happening almost daily now. So, work similarly in a leap year. A lunar cycle typically takes
Few
about
things
29
change the way
days, but
we
our
see
months are slightly
everything.
longer.
TV
But a black
is
moon
making
also
history
refers
again.
to a month where there are no new
QLED
moons,
8K.
which is only possible in February because of its fewer days. This is less common than the other type of
One of the more
moon,
notable
occurs about
moons,
once a
the
decade.
harvest moon. This is because
What
the
will I
fields
see
have already
during a
been
black
harvested,
moon?
and
it
this
says,
is
honestly,
when
probably
animals
nothing.
needed to be killed and stored because winter is
So
coming
if you
soon.
wanted to experience
There's also what's known as the supermoon, where the moon can be as much as
black super
14%
new
bigger
moon.
and 30% brighter.
So we're in a
This
super
occurs
moon,
during the
and it's
closest
a black
approach
super
the
new
moon
moon,
makes
which
to the
basically
Earth
sounds
on
like a
its
dark
orbit.
sky to me.
Every now and then, we get a couple
The moon
of
is also
bonus
going to be a
moons.
super
You see, the
moon, and
lunar
it's going to be a
calendar
black
is
moon.
roughly
Okay, cool.
29
Yeah, I've never
days,
heard of this
but our
before. It's a
monthly
total
calendar
Mandela effect.
is
I've never
mostly
heard of a
30 to
black moon
31
before.
days. So every now and then, you will get 2 full moons in one calendar month.
Every day, it's something else. It's constant. It's something else every single day. It's just on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, this moon cycle switched from 30 days to 28.4. Yeah, I know. The audio. My ears now need alcohol. Was that something bad? Okay, was that... Sorry guys, like I said, this is new. If I apologize. All I'm doing is clicking. Is it okay now? Does everything sound okay now? Oh, the video played. Oh, I'm sorry everybody. And I have my sound off so I didn't hear it. Yeah, I'm sorry folks. Like I said, I'm still learning OBS. You know, they're doing the hard cutoff tomorrow on YouTube with all of their old stuff. So I don't know what other streamers are doing unless they're getting ready with OBS. I do apologize. I don't know how we'll be able to do that if we're going to want to find things on the fly like that, because I thought by turning the volume off that it wouldn't affect everybody. All right, so what I'll do is turn this back on to make sure there's no noise. I'll hear the noise as you hear the noise, and I'll go to Psychology Today, and what it's saying here is, what if consciousness comes first? Despite the success of neuroscience in establishing a wide range of correlations between brain processes and conscious experience, there is at least one question about the relationship between the brain and consciousness that continues to appear unanswerable, even in principle. This is the question of why we have conscious experience at all. I can't believe they're even bothering with this. it doesn't even make any sense to me. OBS is streaming your stream audio, which includes your browser audio. Okay. All right, Josh. I'll learn that. I'll pick up on that afterwards. Hopefully it's quiet now, and I'll learn to fix that as I go on. So this is actually my second time out with OBS. So we got quite a few people in here. I appreciate that. The problem is that there could conceivably be brains that perform all the same sensory and decision-making functions as ours, but in which there is no conscious experience. That is, there could be brains that react as though sad, but that don't feel sadness. Brains that can discriminate between wavelengths of light, but also don't see red or yellow or blue or any other colors. Yeah, anyway. So the point being is that psychology is starting to come around to where we've been at the whole time, which is great. Which is great news for all of us, is that I think eventually what's going to happen is, and this is not breaking news for anybody who's familiar to the channel, is that ultimately the Gateway CIA FOIA document is going to in fact be absolutely 100% correct. And that's exactly how reality works. And I've had conversations with people before about this. It actually works really perfectly with threading the needle in terms of free will and destiny, because that's one of they're always calling black or blue moons. Interesting. Hey, thanks, Greg. I appreciate that, guys. Like I said, I'm brand new to this, and I'll work on that. I didn't even hear it. It's funny, I had the sound off. So yeah, BB. Sorry about that, guys. I'll fix that. Yeah, it seems like the Schumann goes mental a couple days either side of the new moon. Ah, interesting. Yeah, so in terms of NPCs, if you have this consciousness, and the consciousness is a creation, the NPCs, they help you thread the needle between destiny and having free will, because you, as a non-PC, you have free will and you can do what you want, and yet you are still a victim. Yeah, thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you. And it threads that needle anyway. The point I'm making in it, and it's a really powerful idea of NPCs. You can still have a bit of your own sense of destiny, and that's fine, but you can also have your own free will. But if you have the masses, let's say more than 70% of the population, if it's NPC, and let's say 30% of the population is actually truly sentient, or like what we consider all of ourselves, those of us that are sentient and are alive and awake like we think. Oh, thank you, Dark Wolf. I appreciate it. Yeah, you guys, you want to help along with this process. Super chats, there's always super chats in there. And by the way, thumbs up. If you can't do a super chat, thumbs up always help. And just so you know, every dollar of this is going to go to a web page that we're going to build, and it's going to be awesome. So what was the point I was making? So the point I was making was that it kind of really solves a fundamental question that goes all the way back to the ancients, of whether or not you have or you don't have free will, whether it's destiny or it's free will. Well, you can have both of those with this new sort of gaming argument of reality. Because if you've got, an exterior world that's co-created by all these different consciousnesses, right? And they're NPCs out there. They can create the bulk of sort of the movements and the madness of what you see in the world. And wherever you're placed in the world in terms of geography and in terms of time, you may end up being a victim to those kinds of circumstances and still have a choice within those circumstances for yourself. If you're in, World War II, that time frame, and you're on the Pacific, of whether or not to do, a daily chore, or whether or not to sign up to go fight the Axis powers or not, or whatever, just small things or large things. If it's just, you're in a random city in the 1970s, do you want to start a business? Does someone give you a tip about something, and do you invest it in the stock market? And suddenly you become an overnight billionaire because you invested in Yahoo in, the mid-90s. And so I don't know. But I like that idea of these spikes being around these moon anomalies. And that's why, get-togethers like this are so important, so we can all kind of put together these ideas together, and we can all kind of explore them and figure them out. Invest in Bitcoin. Yeah, exactly. The research has led us to where we are at this point, and putting together these kinds of they're seemingly random, but they're really not. They're actually not random whatsoever. And if you adopt that kind of consciousness first philosophy, a lot of things start to fall into place. Now, the consciousness first philosophy doesn't mean that you can, defy gravity and, do a super leap from building to building. They're even within what they talk about in the Monroe Institute, and what they talk about with the CIA document. There are limitations. And like they said, if you try to drastically change the environment around you, there's going to be ramifications to those. Yeah, a lot of the articles and the research is starting to tie nicely together, guys. Absolutely. So where was I? Now I'm afraid to click on random articles because we haven't figured this part out yet. Oh, what am I doing? And now I'm like, do I need to take this down for people who watch us in the future? I don't want to blast their ears. I don't know. Was it really that bad? Because I'll keep this. I'll take this down if it really, I don't want to. I feel bad, actually. Go click, no fear. Yeah. Wasn't that bad? Okay, good. I'll go back and listen to it. If it's really bad, I don't want to drive people away. Okay, yeah, I get it, Ben Lighton. I appreciate it. But anyway, I think some some very interesting. See, I'm not even talking right, and I still feel as if I got a bit of a cold. And I know this morning, it's very weird. The bot was showing a minor spike, almost like an aftershock, like from an earthquake. And now it's I don't think it's there as of, like, let me check. I'll check on my phone just in case there's no noise there. I'm going to check the most recent to see if it's still showing the spike, because I think it goes every couple hours or so. Yeah, no, it's still there. It's still there. That aftershock is still there in the most recent one, which was actually 1 minute ago. I just caught it 1 minute ago. I'll go retweet that right now, just so everybody can see it. If you're following me on Twitter, which again is another pitch for everybody to follow me on Twitter, because you get to see kind of what's going to happen. Yeah, Jim, we had a massive spike today. It was an incredible spike. Or yesterday, sorry. And yeah, I think it does. A lot of people said they feel better today, but bit of venom, I think the immune system was hit. I know mine was. I'm popping zinc and airborne gummies. And Stacy, yeah, we were talking about this new black moon. Has anyone else ever heard of that? And I'm looking at the chat now. Have you guys ever heard that before, of a black moon? I haven't. I'm gonna show my ignorance if it was out there. No. Evil Monkey says no. Cool. Alright, Sharkton, no. Never heard of it, PlayStation. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Never heard of it. Yeah, sore back, upset stomach buster. Yeah, man. Everyone's saying it. Thanks, guys. Making me feel better. Yeah, new moon. Yeah, I've heard of a red moon. Never a black moon. So, and it's real. Go for it. I guess I caution you though, but it's insane. Blue moon, yeah, definitely. Never heard of it. But think of this, guys. We had a massive spike yesterday. And I'm going to go back in the chat and I'm going to give credit to whoever put 2 and 2 together. And thank you for that. I am messed up. I am not speaking right. My voice isn't right. It's scratchy. And I was fine. And then boom, it hit me. All right, so second new moon of the same month. So Melanie, had you heard of that before? Wolf moon, harvest. Yeah, definitely harvest moon. Josh, absolutely, guys. Yeah, dark wolf. All right, so I've got some literature in there for you. Check that out. National Institutes of Health. We got Cornell, and then we got a pop article with Psychology Today. Good stuff in there. And that spike, I had other things. Actually, I forgot what I was going to talk about, but that spike was so hardcore. And then we had the aftershock earlier today, so I had to talk about it. All right, everybody, I'm sorry about the audio issue. There's going to be some hiccups maybe in the next few of these as we learn this. And I'll go back and figure out what the problem is and make sure it doesn't happen again, and we'll keep going, with this new software here. So anyhow, I will talk to you guys soon. And what is it, Wednesday? The worst case scenario, I'll see everybody on Saturday. Like I said, we've got the super chats. I've got the Patreon set up. I just haven't put it out yet. I need to put it out. So and then all of the proceeds, all of it is going to go to. It's going to go to the new webpage where we can all hang out and do our thing together. And there's going to be a library there. There's going to be a 24-hour chat. There's going to be just all kinds of cool ideas. And it's not going to be about just the Mandela effect. It's really going to be about reality and understanding reality. And we're going to make a combination of popular articles that are out there. And then we'll also take... Yesterday, by the way... check yesterday's episode if you missed it. It's the first ever paper that was written on the Mandela effect. The first ever... gosh, I'm not even thinking straight. I'm so messed up from this. It's the first ever... it's a PhD candidate. They wrote their paper on the Mandela effect from UC Davis. And it's from an interview from A Culture, the podcast A Culture. It was really great stuff, really exciting. So the paper is out there, and it's floating around in academia, and we can also read it as well. And I listened to A Culture podcast and read some of the paper. I don't agree with it 100%, but I agree with a lot of the conclusions that were made about the Mandela effect, and it was pretty positive, all in all, I would say. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse with academia. So, all right, well, I'm jumping off here, and I will, as late as it goes, I guess I'll see you guys Saturday. Take it easy.